Hello. Today I'd like to talk to you about a great innovation in drum set technology, if you want to think of it like that. A bass pedal called the Camco pedal. It's an awesome pedal. Um, uh, but first, I want to show you why it's so awesome. And I had a video out about this pedal. Um, and this one I'm redoing it as well. I realized you gotta bear with me. I realized some of the audio wasn't synced up right, so I'm in the process of resyncing all the audio so it's a more agreeable kind of thing to watch these videos. Anyway, so I'm gonna review this one. And hey, I like talking about drums, so it's no problem for me to do this. Anyway, so getting started here. Um, the Camco pedal. It's a great innovation in drum set history. I have, as I showed in the previous video, I have something called a Tempo King pedal. Okay, and Tempo King pedal, it's a good starting point for where we're going here. A Tempo King pedal made in Chicago um, from the company Slingerland. You can see that right there, right here, right there. You can see that. Chicago, USA. Um, it's a really robust kind of simple pedal. Um, it reminds me of a lot of the heavy duty hardware made, I guess, in between the 50s, 60s, 70s. You can see that in cars and things. It feels die cast columns here. It's just like super sturdy, despite its age. Um, just because pedals are made today doesn't mean that they're better than yesterday's pedals. Maybe some parts are, some parts aren't. Depends. This kind of whole, this structure here, I don't know if you can see the color, it's like a teal bluish color, is unbelievably strong. And it actually reminds me of the way the DW form is on the 5000. I don't know. There's something reminiscent about that. I don't know. Anyway, so you have this thing, which people still do today. Um, Instead of having the typical kind of way to connect a pedal, there's two bars that come up here, and there's a hole there and a hole here, and you just kind of and it locks in, unless there's a plate down here. But some companies still use this, so this is not it's not out of date in any sense. I think the new Rogers, I think I'm saying this right, Swivel-matic pedal. I hope I'm saying that right. It has something like this, and it's really cool. Their pedal, they actually, you can move this and adjust it depending on your foot size. Um, uh, this one is interesting. Look, seeing it now. This one's interesting because there's a nice, um, really present heel area here that most pedals today don't have. They just most pedals today are this minus the black right there, and it just fits on the floor. But this really provides uh, a lot of sturdiness, a lot of a really stable heel right there, which is cool. Um, I don't think at that time they had people thought to put the plate underneath. I don't know. Anyway, I love the S here. It kind of reminds me of Superman right there, a little bit. It's very cool. I mean, this thing feels indestructible. Really, it does. I mean, there's rivets which typically can wear out. I'm looking like right here. These things right there, those are rivets, right? Um, and so those will wear out over time. When you have rivets in drum gear, they wear out, especially if you're traveling and you're touring and you're throwing them in your bag or whatever. Those things eventually wear out. But it's not that big of a deal because once they do, you replace them with a nut and a bolt. So that's no biggie. Um, Other than that, everything else is pretty standard. Hasn't seemed to change much, unless you get into like those crazy sonar pedals or Axis pedals, whatever. Um, Premier pedals, high end pedals. They all have the spring, this part here, nut and bolt. Behind this, there's 3 holes, so you can adjust the placement of the spring, which changes as it pulls. It changes the angle of the beater just a little bit. So instead of being here, it's here, which adds up. When you play, you feel that distance to the head. Um, what I really love about this pedal, and a lot of the pastime is when you look closely here, you can see the craftsmanship right here. You can see this, right? I don't know if you see how it's really like smoothed out. It even almost looks like, it's the same kind of aesthetical quality that they had in the cars back then. I guess or a little earlier. They paid attention to this, which is really nice. Because we forget how important that little stuff is. When you see aesthetical stuff like that, it reminds you to be aesthetical yourself. And when it's not, and it just, you know, you're not. I mean, I'm not an expert, but that's what I feel when if you're walking around in a place that has statues and flowers and great architecture, you're reminded to live up to that. If you just are practical and pragmatic and blocks, then that's kind of who you're going to be, I think, as you get older. So anyway, I like this stuff. I like that, but you can't. I get it lends itself to other stuff. I don't know. Half dozen to another. Anyway, I like that. Pedals don't do that stuff anymore. Um, Probably because it costs too much. Anyway, you have this wonderful beater here. I haven't even touched it. I mean, it's like I don't know what's inside there. Kind of, I don't know. Kind of feels like a cork or something. But wonderful big beater, and that we still do this today. Um, Great for having that sound without the attack. Wonderful for feathering the bass drum. The big problem with this pedal, and why I'm starting here, is you have a strap. This is the strap. And incidentally, that reminds me of something else. Anyway, you have a strap here, a leather strap. And I remember when I first started playing, I was playing a Pearl bass pedal, a Pearl Export Series bass pedal in the 90s, and it had a strap. It was a vinyl, I think Kevlar vinyl strap, something of that nature. And I never imagined it breaking or cutting or doing whatever. And I mean, as a little kid, I was going at it too. But I think they do, and they're very easy to replace. But it's another thing to have to replace. And as a drummer, you get kind of um, it's fun to work on and do that stuff, but especially if you're gigging or touring or whatever, you don't want to have to deal with that, especially if it breaks during the concert, right? And that was the case with these. So they, it's a leather strap. This is the original one. It appears to be anyway. It could have been replaced, but you can see, see, you see right there. Before I break the computer, see, right? It's held on with see right there. It's held on with a screw and a washer, and underneath here too, right? So if you're handy, you can replace that with anything if you want. Leather seems like a good deal, but anyway, that's the problem with this pedal, and that's the problem. That was the problem with a lot of pedals. You can check out the dates. Go to Wiki and or vintage drum books, and you'll check out the dates. It's around the 70s. I think early 70s, but check them out. Um, uh, and I want to come back to this thing right here. But anyway, this I just want to remember that. But so you were, for the most part, you had this pedal, and you also had, strangely, I don't know. Yeah, I find it way before its time. You had the Speed King pedal from Ludwig. Not that was an innovation that happened. I want to say in the '60s too. They kind of survived at the same time before the Camco came out, and the Speed King essentially takes this leather strap and changes it and makes it a piece of metal. So you know, this no longer is a problem with the Speed King pedal. However, um, they did something that probably leads to the demise of that pedal in a serious way. They put the springs on the inside of this column, and over time that starts to wear out. I think there's even ball bearings in there or something. Maybe not. I guess so. Up here there might be ball bearings, and the springs, and you can hear everything after a while. The liquid lubrication in there, it starts to harden and get gritty, and you'll start to hear it go right. And so that's what happens with the Speed King pedals. I remember growing up, and once I discovered that, listening to Led Zeppelin albums and hearing what I thought to be the Speed King squeak as John Bonham was playing. Um, it becomes something when you hear that as a drummer. I guess producers and engineers say like, no, 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 don't, no, we can't have anything. It has to be pristine, surgically silent, right? But drummers, we find that kind of a cool novelty. It helps us identify stuff and gives us something to talk about, so it's cool. Anyway, um, and other than that, I mean, you had this one and the Speed King. This one obviously came. This kind of style came first. The Speed King. Then they changed the leather to metal, a metal strap basically, which seriously affected uh, the motion of the beater, because now, like here, if I lift up, I can lift it up like this and it doesn't move the beater, but in the Speed King scenario it would. It seriously affects it. It's always contact. It's always connected. So which is not really a big deal. It's just something to learn when you're playing with the pedal. You would have to learn the pedal, which is the case with everything that you buy in the drum set. You have to learn how to use it. It's just like a car. You buy a new car, you have to learn how to learn the timing of the clutch and the stick and everything. This is the same thing. You have to get familiar with the pedal that you buy. Same thing with the cymbal and the snare and all that stuff. So anyway, that's what you had. Now, um, I'm going to turn this around. So, from what I read, and I want to share with you today, what came about apparently. Oh, I forget his name. Um, no, figures. Oh man. Ah. Crap. There was like a percussion center community in New York, and I forget his name. You look it up on Wiki. Um, uh, and the story goes that Elvin Jones was complaining about the strap stretching, the holes here stretching, and after two sets, and that it would, I guess, either break or it would just stretch, and that's not cool, because when you're trying to learn your pedal and it's constantly stretching, then you constantly have to adjust for that, and it's really really annoying. You want it to be in a fixed position so then you can learn from it without having to constantly readjust, So he was talking to this guy, which I forget his name, Drumway. That rings a bell. Anyway, And they came up with um, the Camco pedal, and that was historically what Elvin Jones used. I think right up until the end. And I have one, and I want to show it to you. And this is the pedal. This is my pedal. This is the pedal I use, and there it is. The Camco pedal. Now, let me raise this up. They came up with this idea. When you read about it, they came up with the Camco pedal idea. Apparently, while looking at how the pedals work in timpanis, that's what I read, and they noticed that the pedal was assisted. The whole process was used with a chain, and that's how they got the idea, which I guess could happen. I don't know why they just didn't look at a bicycle and see. I mean, they had bikes in that at that time. I don't know. They saw it with the timpani and said, "Hey, we can transplant that idea into the bass drum pedal," and thus is born um, something called the Camco pedal. The Camco has the name has nothing to do with the fact that it's a chain. It's just the company coming from Tama. Tama being a Japanese company, um, and before I get into that, so this is the main difference. You see that everything else, right? Right? You can see everything pretty much is the same here, right? The spring, right? You got this, same thing there, right here, down here. You see? Um, that piece of rubber's gone, but I mean, it's virtually the same kind of setup. The style is a little different, but it's the same thing, except for now you have a metal, a chain link right there, which will never stretch. Um, uh, I say that I'm thinking about a chain-driven motor, and that chain in there does stretch a little bit, but I mean you'd have to go crazy. So this one stays put. Now pedals since then, most of them are all chains because of the discovery of this Camco. Other than that, I mean, it's the pedal itself is very, very light, and it feels under your foot that you. I mean, it's all like it's just so comfortable. You almost feel like you're playing your socks or something. It's just really unbelievably comfortable. The size, the dimensions, the way this kind of resembles your foot. You don't feel that shape, but it just adds up. The weight of it and the feel, it just all of it adds up with this pedal to make you it just stays out of the way basically. Um, and the angle of the board here, I could raise it or lower it depending on. You can see. Let's see how I get that right there. Oh, right there, right? And very conveniently uses a lug nut, right? So you can use your drum key there, a lug screw, whatever. They cover the chain up with a plate here, right? A chain cover, which is nice. I think that if it wasn't there, maybe the chain might jump off track or probably ruin your shoe a little bit. But it's just a nice little addition that they thought up, and it looks like you can also adjust it. There's some holes there. If I wanted to move it up, I could. Um, I think actually that's how they hold the chain in there, because there's a pin. Pretty sure that's how that is. Yeah, that's how that is. I've had this I've had it for years. Doesn't break. Kind of is indestructible. I think what I am going to do though is put a plate under here, because I just find that some pedals with plates on them is just so much more reassuring under your foot. Um, it can help with bass creep a little bit, but I think I might do that. This pedal though is just unbelievable. If you ever find one, I highly recommend trying it out. Um, of course, if you know bass drum pedals, um, if you know bass drum pedals, they have two. I'm looking at this. They have two here, which I like. Um, uh, what Camco has sold and kind of changed hands a lot, um, uh, and eventually DW Drum Workshop picks up the pedal. Uh, they don't take the name um, Camco, still is a Tama name, but they pick up the use of the pedal, and out comes the famous pedal, DW pedal 5000. It's a red and black one, and it's very almost identical to this thing. Instead of being what appears to be aluminum here, it's brushed. It probably is aluminum, I think, but it's like brushed black, dense. It might even be die cast. I don't know. I've never had one. I have friends, a lot of friends that have them. They love them. They live by them. Um, but it is essentially the Camco pedal. Um, I find that they're a little heavier. Something about them makes them feel a little heavier, which is nice. The footboard is very much the footboard. I think is very much the same, and you have 5000 goes down this. Uh, uh, the beater, I don't remember what the beater is, but anyway, it's modeled after this, and even to the point where the sprocket right there, this thing, is looks identical. It's thin. See how like thin this is? A lot of them they have double chain pedals, right? I've had some of those. Um, but the sprocket's the same design in the DW5000. This Camco pedal is the son of all that stuff. It's the first one though, and you see pictures of Elvin Jones's kit. You'll see him playing with this Camco pedal at some point. And since then, pedals. Very interestingly, you notice pedals kind of changed. Um, which actually they didn't. We're looking at this one. This the angle right here is not the same as this. See the chain. So this adds to your speed, quote unquote. And I think Tama came out with that. Tama might have come out with that idea with the Iron Cobras. Anyway, I don't know who came out with it, but eventually it goes from being a rounded, appearingly rounded sprocket to something that's not. Uh, and I guess it accelerates the beater as you press down the pedal more so than this does. This is a nice even thing, which I actually dig this more than this. I've had this kind. I'm pretty sure the Iron Cobras, the Tama Iron Cobras in the 90s, I had one of those. My first pedal I bought with my own money. It was amazing. The football. I wish I never would have gotten rid of that pedal. It was light, just like the Camco. It was kind of like Camco, like just coked up. I don't know how to Camco. The board was wonderful and large and big and like as if the Camco drank 1,000 cups of coffee. It was super powerful, and I got into that pedal. Um, uh, because at the time I was super into Tribal Tech and Kurt Covington. And I thought Kurt Covington, and this is in the 90s, and he was just a master. I love what he was doing with his bass drum pedal. And I was just in love with it. So I said, what pedals he using? And I got it. And I mean, and that's why. It was a great pedal. I used it all through college. I wish I never got rid of it, but then I got this one. And when you get the Camco pedal, uh, if it's in good condition, your search for pedals stops. It really does. I mean, I don't know anybody. I've never met somebody that says I can't stand those Camco pedals. Um, if you had a 5000 DW 5000, I don't know what you would use. If I put a board under here and let you try the DW 5000 and this one, which one would you use? I don't know. This one, I mean, I don't have to look for pedals anymore. You know, um, there are ones out there that are cool. I saw a new Tama pedal with the board that's kind of extended, and it's so fast. It makes you play better. You know, it makes when I was playing it at La Baguette in here in Paris, they have a room where you just walk in, you can try stuff out, and that pedal, I mean, I was able to do stuff that I'd never been able to do before on a pedal, um, and I mean, it's just, you know, it makes you better than you are, kind of thing. I think they really looked into pedals, and I'm kind of interested in checking that one out. Um, but I mean, you know, for normal drum pedal life, you don't need it. You know, it's just like it's like working on going with one hand. When are you going to use that? I remember seeing a documentary, Jojo Meyer talking about it when he was real young, and he was like, "Yeah, this is cool, but I mean, I use it to find symbols. Other than that, I rarely use it." You know, it's kind of like that. You don't, you know, um, it's cool. I mean, it's all cool, but as far as getting a job, being able to go, you know, um, so uh, Camco, Camco pedal is a beautiful pedal. Um, I've had Axis pedals. Uh, I've had Iron Cobra pedals. I've had Pearl pedals. Year 2000, around that time, when the board started to get resembled this, but was black and had dots up here, uh, and you could move it around. I remember that pedal. I play one of those at work. It's all right. Um, what other kind of pedals have I had? The Iron Cobra. I tried a little bit of the Speed King. Um, uh, I've tried a ton, but ones I've actually used a lot. This pedal is just, you know, it's awesome. By Tama. I love it because it says by Tama, special designed for professional drummers, made in Japan. And I always thought it should say specially designed. Maybe that's a language thing. I don't know. Um, uh, wow, what a great pedal. I put a Vic Firth beater on it. Just looking at it makes me want to play. Um, stands up to all, you know, pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Oh, doing this. I have a Gibraltar. It's in here. You can't see it. It's right here. Should I bring it out? Why not? I have a Gibraltar double bass drum pedal. I'm keeping this old school drum case. Check it out. Now this is a beast of a pedal. This is crazy, this pedal. First of all, you have, look, there's a Gibraltar. This is the old school, I think 80s pedal. This one, this it feels like you're playing a truck, like there's like a 18-wheeler underneath your foot, as opposed to the Camco. The Camco is a light, wonderful jazz pedal, funk pedal, pop pedal over here, right? Amazing. I mean, I got no reason to get another pedal. If I got a Camco, I'm good for the rest of its life, you know? Um, um, uh, but I wanted to learn double pedal. And and so I'm starting on a double pedal. And I mean, it's one of those things you just don't jump on a double pedal and take off. You have to learn it. You have to work on it. So I looked into it a little bit, and I found I got this one used, Gibraltar old school double pedal, and I love it. It's so unbelievable. It's awesome. I mean, you just can't speak enough about this. I think probably the single pedal version would be pretty cool, but one of the problems, one of the reasons why it works as a good double pedal and not a single pedal is because it is freaking heavy. All this right here, this literally feels like they banged it out of concrete. It's literally like indestructible. I could take this, open a door, and throw it out the door. I'm about no, 2 flights up here. It would still be perfectly in perfect order. This pedal, I mean, it seems like it seems like it'll outlast all of us. You have everything is super bulky and strong and robust. I mean, I feel like I could take it on tour, and we could get into the tour bus get to an accident, and this thing would still survive. It's that kind of thing. I since then moved up the chain. I mean, look at the chain. Holy moly, this is literally like a bike chain, as opposed to, see, and it's like I said, it's indestructible. I really, really love this pedal. Between the two here, I'm in heaven. It's like in another video I said, between the 505, the 404, and the Pasty 2002s, I'm in heaven. It's kind of the same thing, and the Sample 65. This is it. I don't need. There's no reason to get. However, I do know that the more modern bass drum pedals of today float. Just like that Iron Cobra, you're able to do things on them that you can't do on these. Really, I know that sounds crazy, but they've really worked out the weights and the lengths and all the dimensions and how it moves. So the slightest little motion on your foot makes it take off. But again, boom, boom. That gets the gig. The does not get the gig. At least in the pop world, funk pop, normal world. I mean, it's unbelievable. The only thing I have here, right. This is the it helps you extend the two pedals, right? This is so old school. Like, this is what they use. Gibraltar is indestructible. This is from Gibraltar, which is this pedal. Indestructible hardware. I'm going to do another video about Gibraltar. This one is still standing still. It's bent and all clanky, but I'm learning bass drum pedal, and it definitely serves its purpose. And so then you got the other half, right? And same thing, mega chain, crazy. You can see the bulkiness. You can see the thick. It is just indestructible. There's the board, right, which I love. Sick, just unbelievably sick. I could probably, it's all on this is a single pedal, actually. I just realized this, right? Stupid. I could take this off, put the beater there, move this over. The hole is already there. So I got a single pedal with the board. I just realized that, and that rocks. I can actually use it as a single pedal. I just realized that with the board. Huh. I'm going to try that out. That is awesome. Huh. I never noticed that before. I'm not new to double pedals, but I am and I'm not. I've been practicing this as much as I can for a few years. I have some friends. One of my friends, Andy Schonecker. Out to Andy Schonecker, a huge double bass guy. Blow your socks off with double bass. He used to crack me up in college with show what we could do with double bass. And having so much fun with it. I don't know if he's still doing that. I imagine it's something like you got to keep on it to keep it up. But anyway, check him out. Props to Andy Schoenecker for that. Um, but I realized after, I remember listening to double bass and saying, why the heck are they going bump, 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 all over and over, like, have like Megadeth and Metallica and stuff. And then I started doing it, and that's when you realize what is so cool about double bass. When you just start doing it, you realize, holy, this is amazing. Just you have to do it to understand why so many drummers are playing that. And let's not forget the first one, or I guess one of the first ones, Louis Bellson, was the one who invented the double bass drum pedal, or which is a major swing jazz drummer inventing the double bass drum pedal. Who would know that the double bass pedal from jazz band, big band swing drummer Louis Bellson would give birth to metal, the usage of it in metal music, and everything else nowadays with double bass. So, well, this is cool. I'm super happy to actually be able to do this, show you what a progression of pedals. Look at this. Look at this. Boom. Right? And obviously the strap, chain, huge one. I think that they still, um, pretty almost, yeah, 100% sure. They still make the Camco pedals. This one, Gibraltar, since then moved on to something else, but this one is just awesome. I don't even know the name of this one. If you find it, it's very recognizable. It's, like I said, run over it with a truck, it will still stay up. It's amazing, this pedal. So I think I'm going to stop there. It was so awesome to talk to you about these pedals. These are the ones I use, mostly the Camco one, and I'm working on my double pedal stuff. Um, a good person there's a lot of double bass drum advice out there, especially today. Um, um, but one of the ones, if you want to get into it, check out what Ginger Baker says about playing the double bass drum pedal. And he doesn't talk to you about foot technique, but there's a video that he shows, and he's up there. There's a video that he shows of the simplicity, how it's just a great invention, and how it contributes rhythmically to what you're doing with very little effort. You can jump from you can jump a level seriously by doing a very simple pattern on the bass drum. And Ginger Baker, there's a video he shows how to do that, and that is a good opening to understand how to use it musically speaking, and how to just take off with it. Check it out, Ginger Baker. I forget the name of that video, but it's a great introduction into it. And then there's a ton of other stuff. Rod Morgenstein shows you some great stuff. Great stuff playing them. Just makes me want to watch that video. And there's a lot of people out there doing double bass stuff. So anyway, more coming up. More news I got. My drum came in. I'm not going to show it to you now, but I'm working on it. It's feeling so great. And more news, more videos, and happy drumming, happy bass drum pedal searching. And talk to you later. Ciao.